The idea is like more or less going on, but for this one, it's not just the water that we have put in there. These are just all the areas. So don't get me wrong. The line is rotavirus coverage, rotavirus vaccine coverage, but the blue are the other lines. Then the red or brown there is the all the areas. And the darker blue is the children that received the rotavirus vaccine. So what I was showing you is a program. We have a statement coverage that I talked about. We have a rising number of unvaccinated children. We still have the outreach because we are still being disabled. We have urban community locations that are expanding. Okay, people might think in urban areas they are not. We are there because our favors are expanding. People have to walk quite a distance, more than 3 kilometers to get a health facility. And some people have just said, you know what, it's too far, I'm pregnant, I've got this baby together, I've got this toddler, I can't make it to the health facility. So that is not a problem. These opportunities I talked about, the hesitancy we are talking about, and remember we also have other people talking against immunizations. Then we have the supermarket approach not being adhered to, although people talk about it, but when you actually look at records, you find that it's not being practiced day in, day out. Then the advocacy and communication, what we are noting now, unlike yesterday, is that it is very strong during campaigns. We have Econet coming in, we have the ZBC coming in, and so on. But during the non-campaign period, it's a bit low, it's a bit quiet, so it's an area that we are working on. The migrant and mobile populations, they're also a challenge in our country. Shortage of financial resources, data management issues, the lack of integration. This one is a serious issue because every program wants to achieve their targets, every program wants to do their own thing. Integration is not really there. It's there by default in the health facility because the health center nurses are 2 or 3 and they got no way out. But from planning, going to all these other levels, integration is not real. Then we still have, the human resource shortage, followed by task shifting. Then these were just trying to show the increase in the number of illuminated children for the TP3, MR1, MR2, and MR2, which is increasing on a yearly basis as we go on. And that makes us worry because if it's increasing, then what? We could be heading for an outbreak or something like that. The same, in graphical form. So what are our recommendations? Outreach is becoming very expensive for the country, also for government who are our funders. And we were not proposing to say maybe if we go further down to say the clinics, because they used to do it long ago with their bicycles and so on. If they can maybe resuscitate that, because now outreach was just being done from district level to the areas. But we are saying maybe if we start that again, maybe it will be cheaper to run the outreach service. Also, people will be reached in time because they want this vehicle breakdown, this fuel not being there, and all these other problems that compound outreach is being run from district level. We also proposed in our HSS application to Gavi to have some, to complement what the government is doing, building health posts. We are suggesting to do some in Governor, which is a vast district and yes, very few health facilities. We are also engaging cities to consider outreach in areas where vendors are selling their wares, also in the urban slums and in these other areas where I was saying, the city locations are expanding. We are also advocating opening of facilities in broad hours. What we have seen is, for working women who might not want maybe the maid to take their child for vaccination, they work hours that are similar to those clinic workers in Norway. So they have no opportunity to get their children vaccinated. So we are advocating with the city to have maybe some facilities open in these odd hours to catch these people living dependency as well. Then you can get in private sector, provide some have already come forward to get some vaccines given their practices. Then we are trying to roll out the My Home, My Village, a concept where there is community engagement, community ownership, where the village heads themselves actually are in charge of the children, and they actually tell the children their bricks of their house. So if a child misses a vaccine, the brick is removed. So he will actually say, why are you making my house weak? You are the one who did not get your child vaccinated. Can you go and do that? If there's some resistance, maybe then in one area they told us that the parents will pay a chicken or something as penalty for not getting their child vaccinated. So that's something that we thought maybe we could give the communities this responsibility of getting children vaccinated. Then the red rollout, we are planning to do that. For integration, there's EPI. Within RED, there is a component of integration. We have started engaging some departments within the ministry to say, can we integrate? So we hope it will go a long way. Then the health promotion and the messages, we are saying that should continue. Then the lobbying for financial assistance. I think last year we got some money from that to pay for our co-financing. So we are hoping that will continue. And we are hoping to have the electronic registers in place so that the health workers won't labor a lot in writing these registers. And then getting the CPOs to work on demand generation. There are CPOs in the communities, but we haven't been working with a lot of them, but it is something that we've seen that works, and we are saying we need also to be more there. Then our outreach services, in the 80s, outreach services were actually supermarket in the sense that they offer all services. But now when you go there, you find out that there's no medicine, even for the minor ailments. They are only having vaccines as well as chemical, that's all. And they can only do growth monitoring. So we have seen that, that has also dampened the speeds of people coming to the outreach. So it's something that we are discussing with our colleagues. The involvement of these leaders in those areas so that at least they can assist champion the immunization. I thank you. That is a picture of the health facilities with all these registers coming with their level, and they have to write all these registers. You can imagine what that does to our data. I thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Primo, for this articulate presentation. Quite interesting and quite eye-opening for Lele, who not really know about the nitty-gritties of what the Ministry of Health, the authorities, and have gone through, in getting these things delivered to us. My memory of vaccines, etc., as a historian, basically me as a young person, the hassles and tussles that my mother went through when she was pulling me to the hospital or clinic to get injected, these vaccines. And my greatest fear of the injection, which I still have now. And I appreciate Ms. Marebo for this presentation. It sort of showcases a number of things. That the kind of challenges, the planning, the preparation, that the ministry in this case goes through to get that injection delivered to us. And I think she has tried very well to do that. I will now invite Professor Sanjoy to the podium to talk about global historical milestones in infectious diseases. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you everyone for your patience and for being here. Thank you, Madam, for a really informative talk. I realized I don't know so much, so perhaps we can have another conversation afterwards. But what I'm going to present to you now is a mix of empirical data and a conceptual challenge to all of you. So that's a child with smallpox. Certified eradicated in 1980, but we should not forget how damaging and dangerous the disease was. And the nature of the disease itself, as we well know, is a determinant of how willing people are to get vaccinated. In fact, data from South Asia suggests that the governments were constantly struggling with the ups and downs of demand. When there was an epidemic, there was a spike in demand because people were very scared. And then in non-epidemic years, when the disease was not visible and people were not scared, there'd be a fall. And it was very difficult, therefore, for political and economic planners to plan for such spikes. So this is something worth remembering. The vaccine is very important. We would not have achieved smallpox eradication without an effective vaccine. That is one of the many freeze-dried vaccines that were available. We have to remember, often when we historians write, we simplify. We simplify because we say the freeze-dried vaccine. Actually, there were many freeze-dried vaccines. Vaccines often had nationalities. That nationality of the vaccine often determined use internationally and locally. We have to remember. But what I'm arguing here is that in the 1960s, we had the development of a heat-stable freeze-dried vaccine, which was very important. It was successfully tested in the USSR and East Pakistan by Soviet and US officials. And later, through bilateral and multilateral agreements, there were technology transfers of vaccine production to countries like India, Pakistan, Yugoslavia, Canada, China, Brazil. All of whom started then to start producing their own freeze-dried vaccine. Now the vaccine was very important, its efficacy was very important, but what I am going to argue to you here today is that other technology actually also mattered, related to this vaccine, related to vaccination. And in the smallpox case, it is most dramatically represented by the humble bifurcated needle. And as part of my 10 years of research on smallpox eradication, I've been very lucky to be presented with older vaccinating kids. Some of them look like torture instruments. Sometimes when you were vaccinated, and I had the scar to prove it with the rotary lancet, it was like an open wound in both arms, which would often get infected. The resistance was not to the vaccine. The resistance often in rural India was to the sepsis caused by the vaccination process. So we have to be careful when we're trying to identify resistance and hesitancy. What people are hesitant about, not necessarily the vaccine, but the procedure. So as I argue, as I make this point to you, what I'm trying to say is the vaccine is important, the biohacking needle is as important, but perhaps the most important. And evidence from India, which I've studied in greatest detail, suggests that the hand that holds the bifurcated needle is perhaps the most important. Because we have evidence from India to show that if the wrong hands appear in rural areas with low immunization levels, people will simply disappear into the jungles because they just didn't want to be vaccinated by these people. There was no trust. Sometimes US CDC officials would appear in jeeps. You have to remember the larger political context in the 1970s. There had been a war with Pakistan. There was civilian memory about the fact that the Pakistani army was on the American side. There was often opposition to American intervention in public health in rural areas. People would just simply melt away into the forests and then return back to the villages once they heard that the jeeps had left. So very quickly, international aid agencies realized that they had to get a range of local collaborators who could inform them about fears, angers, and then slowly involve local vaccinators who could then go into correct villages. We have one case study which actually struck us very much, that there was a workshop held in Lucknow, which is the capital of Uttar Pradesh state in India, where it was decided that 100 Indians would be trained to go into the villages of Uttar Pradesh. As it turned out, all 100 went into, and they were then unleashed into the districts. They then tried to vaccinate in Muslim villages, or Muslim-dominated villages, and suddenly they found that again people had disappeared. So an inquiry was launched. And what the inquiry revealed was this was also the time when young Muslim men were being forcibly sterilized by people in the UK state administration. So when they saw these people turn up, the villagers actually thought they were going to be forcibly sterilized and therefore ran away into the village. Luckily, lessons were learned. Luckily, volunteers were drawn from those villages, they were trained, and they are the ones who then helped extend vaccination in those territories in India. So the human factor, I argue here, is central to the success of smallpox eradication. And it is here that WHO plays an important role. And when I say WHO, I don't mean the headquarters in Geneva. I'm actually talking about the WHO regional office and the smallpox eradication unit within it, which I will argue was actually calling the shots with this important strategic information. The fact that when the institutional histories were written, that was written out of the history is a different matter. The 1988 history of global smallpox eradication, big red book, which my dear friend Devanta has 2 copies, is more representative, I would argue, of the politics of 1988 than the realities of the 1970s. So this is where we, historians and social scientists, become slightly inconvenient. There are many historical narratives of smallpox eradication. Should not surprise us. It is still the only human disease to have been eradicated. People like to write about success. I think I got my first grant because the the funders thought there needed to be more histories of success. I'm not sure if I fulfilled what the funders thought I should do, because I came up with a very critical history, which then hooked me into studying other regional case studies of smallpox eradication. But let me take one historical narrative here. That is the narrative prepared by the US Centers for Disease Control. Why have I picked this narrative? Because this is the most well-funded contemporary effort to create a history of smallpox eradication. As I speak to you, a website is being created where the global story is, I think, being told with interviews with 30 American workers. So the global story is equal to the experiences of 30 CDC officials. There's one Indian there, but he's CDC's main ally in India. How do I know this? Because I managed to get into the private favors of the then Health Minister of India, who was watching international activities very, very carefully in India. Now, the US CDC narrative is that the campaign started in Western and Central Africa from 1966 to 1970. It also had an involvement in East Pakistan, what is now Bangladesh, between 1967 and 77. The CDC negotiated India between 67 and 75, and then led the charge in Eastern, the Horn of Africa, between 75 and 79. I would argue to you that such institutional histories are the histories of the few. We need to challenge, in my view, the histories of the few. Because we cannot reduce national, regional complexities and successes to the lived memories of, let's say, 30 actors. I'm not saying they were not important. They were important in global health, which I see as a mosaic. But by focusing on, let's say, a mosaic that has 10 parts, by focusing on one part, we should not silence the other 9 parts of the mosaic. So we should focus, or I should focus, to the annoyance of many institutional historians. I say histories of the many are important. So as we study the histories of the many, and we look at some CDC-supported imagery of some CDC-supported work in Western Africa, what is very striking to me is the malleability of the definition of who's CDC. These people are not CDC. They're working with some CDC funding, but the national government employees working in smallpox eradication programs in Africa. Therefore, when in an institutional history, the calculation of global input or international input is made in the tables in the big red book at the end. You see CDC gave that much. USA gave that much. Surprisingly, the salaries of these hundreds of thousands of African officials